this question. How do we deal with this function of time? And you go through, and here's work. And here's rest. Okay, so, and you work and you rest. And how do you work with this stuff and serve God? How do you do this? And you might say, well, let's work real hard and more and not rest so much. But you need rest. Okay? So you need rest. But how do you do this? And how do you get God in on this? And the question is this what life is all about? Do I work a lot? Do I serve God? Where does that go? Okay, here's work and here's laziness. And maybe we can have more work and less laziness, and well, that would be good. Just work all the time. And what is work anyway? What's it all about? It's a function of time. Well, I think the problem is we have another axis. If you're trying to fix your life, then what about grace? If you get rid of all the laziness and you're working am I working for God? Or am I working to make money? Or what am I doing? What is it? Well, there's grace. And what we're trying to do is add grace somehow in here. And I think one of our problems is this. And that is 2 pot. 1 pot. And here's another pot. Do we have a 1-pot system or a 2-pot system? 2-pot system. 2-pot system is, here's a pot for me, and here's a pot for God. Am I a 1-pot person or am I a 2-pot person? Do we do things for me and then do some things for God? Is that the way it goes? Or am I a 1-pot person? What does the Bible tell us? There are 2-pot people and 1-pot people. There are people who, okay, I'm going to do some things for God, and I'll do some things for me. Okay, that's one way to look at it. In fact, we'll find there are 1-pot people and 2-pot people. A 1-pot person says, well, I'm going to do some things for God, and then I'll do some things for me. And that's a 2-pot system. The other one, whatever I do for the glory of God. Now that's what the Bible tells us. Whatever you do to the glory of God. So suppose you're, God says, okay, I want you to quit your accountant job and go out and be a missionary. Okay? And do all your stuff for God. So, do we do things? Can you be a missionary or an accountant or something like that for God? Well, yeah, maybe. Is that true? And so there are 1-pot Christians and 2-pot Christians. The 2-pot Christians are saying, well, I can do things for me, but what I'll do is I'll pay a pastor to do things for God. That's another way to do it. Make a lot of money, make money, and then give money to God. That's kind of like it. Or maybe it's more like, whatever you do for the glory of God. Can you be a draftsman for God? What do you think?
Can you ever really be a one-pot person, though? Wouldn't that kind of require you being able to completely separate your, like, kind of fleshly desires from what you should do for God? Obviously, we want to be one-pot people, but there's always going to be that kind of thing in the back of your head that's like, man, it really has to do that, you know? And then you're putting something in your pot instead of God's pot. That's got to happen at least once. Probably a lot more than that for most of us, right?
I think part of what this is being a, there's secular and spiritual. There's those two pots. And we say, well, I'll put things in the secular pot. Or could I do secular things for God? Well, if it's not sin, it could be for God. It could. What if you're a draftsman and God says, okay, I want you to give up your drafting and go off to be a missionary. And you think, well, if God says that, then that's okay. But if you're going to be a missionary, you may be out writing stuff and washing dishes, and gee, that's secular stuff. But it's not secular stuff. You can wash your dishes for the glory of God, and you can bring up your kids to the glory of God, and it'll work out. In other words, there shouldn't be spiritual things that are just spiritual, and you'll find a lot of what do you call it? Two-pot people who become missionaries. Okay, and so they give up being a draftsman. They say or being an aviator, and that's one that's really rings around here. Being an aviator, and they say, well, I'll be an aviator for God, so I can be an aviator and be it for God. Well, that's true. That can be. You can be a draftsman for God. You can be an engineer for God. But, a two-pot concept has gotten into our society. The two-pot saying, well, you can do a spiritual thing or you can do a secular thing. And what you do is, if you're a secular person, that's okay. Then you just give money to the spiritual people and they will give you sermons and stuff like that. So, can you mow the lawn for the glory of God? I mean, you got to mow the lawn, or pay somebody to mow the lawn. Well, you can mow the lawn for the glory of God. And if you focus on the fact that I can do whatever I do for the glory of God as long as it's not sin, then you become a person who is a one-pot person. A one-pot. Whatever you do for the glory of God. So that means I'll sweep the floor for the glory of God. I'll do my homework for the glory of God. I will, be an engineer for the glory of God. That's what it's supposed to be. And you find out that the one-pot people pull away, not from the church, but from letting the pastor find out all about the Bible. So, as you live, you tell Bible stories to the kids, and so on. So, if you're a one-pot person, that's a good thing. You can accomplish for God whatever you do. Your engineering, your dishwashing, your whatever you do for the glory of God. That's the whole idea. And you'll find that two-pot people that go to church very often, they say, "Oh, I'll do my spiritual thing is I'll go on Sunday and I'll listen to a pastor and we pay him and he studies the Bible and he tells us stuff and then we're free and we go home and we do our secular work." But it's not secular work. Whatever you do for the glory of God. So that means maybe you'll baptize somebody. You help somebody, lead somebody to Christ, help them to grow, be their friend, baptize them, help them to grow. And they are part of the church, which isn't a building. And by the way, we're moving in that direction in our society. People are not going to pour money into building buildings and say they're churches, because that's not the church. The church is a set of people who serve God. That's what it is. That's the church. And so you fight against two-pot systems. You don't want two-pot system. You want it to be a one-pot thing. And you and your family are the church. Now, maybe you don't get married, and your church is different people. People all around you that you know, and you help them to grow. And, maybe you're not good at teaching Bible any place, but that's okay. You can teach kids to make model cars or something like that. And that's a spiritual thing. You hang out with kids, and you teach them how to make cars, or make them, teach them how to take a styrofoam glider and put a rocket motor on it and fling it out, and it blows up or something. Yeah, that's fun. But you're identifying with people, and we've done a lot of that here on campus. And it's a fun thing, and binds you with other people who are Christians. And some who are not Christians. And they say, well, Christians can have fun too. And they can do weird stuff. And that's okay. So, it's a one-pot system. It's not a two-pot system. And it spreads into your whole life. So, that's it. Yes, question?
So, talking about mowing the yard for the glory of God, and I can start mowing the yard and I say, I'm doing this for the glory of God, and I can use those words.
But it might not.
What does it mean? What does it look like? Or what?
Because this is
How does mowing the lawn for the glory of God different than just regular mowing the lawn?
Well, for one thing, if you're in a neighborhood where it's supposed to look nice, you're making your part of the neighborhood look nice. So I'm doing this for God. The opposite is I won't mow it at all, and it'll be all weeds, and I won't dig in the dirt and cultivate the area so that it looks nice, and so other people will say, this guy, he's in our neighborhood. I'm in the neighborhood, and so I'll make it nice. And that way my wife doesn't have to mow the lawn, and that gives her time to relax some. And that's love. That's love. That's Christian. And if the neighbor's dog comes over and bites me, well, sometimes that has happened. But I don't get mad at my neighbor. I try to help her. She may not receive my help. She may hate me. But if I can live Christ to her, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And so, Christianity is an everyday living thing. And that's the way it's supposed to be. And people will be more affected by your taking care of them around and being nice to them. If they might say, why are you the way you are? This other guy is terrible, and this guy's terrible, and you're nice. And I like that. So, what is this that motivates you? Jesus. He motivates me to do what's right, to help one another, and not blow up all the time. No.
So coming back to the work and laziness curve,
Uh-huh.
does that?
Well,
So just saying one is one and one is the other is a misconception.
yeah. It may be that you need some rest. That's good. You keep in tune with God. That's the important thing. I can't go any farther. And then this, Lord, what should I do? Well, go to bed, Tom.
So the goal with that is to kind of look at it in the scope of laziness or grace on the other axis, and say with more grace, everything is going to be more meaningful and more successful and all that.
Right. You do. If you keep in tune with God, then you can be, you can be a pastor I've baptized several people. But, I don't have a baptized somebody a couple years ago.
Don't have to be ordained for that.
Yeah, you don't have to be ordained. What you have to do is know what to do and help them to grow and whatever they need.
Mm.